I'm Brian Fraser. I no longer work directly inside the Fire and Rescue Service, but work alongside it. But I had a 39-year career in the Fire and Rescue Service, retiring as Her Majesty's Chief Inspector of Fire and Rescue Services for Scotland. I heard earlier on when people talking about AFSA in one word, and that made me think and reflect on that. And I'd have to say, irreplaceable. I was around at the start. I knew Jagtar Singh and had worked with Jagtar when he was working with what we now know as AFSA to bring it out of the London Fire Brigade Asian Firefighters Association. And we had several conversations about what it could do, how it could achieve support and benefit to the fire and rescue services, including how it would be resourced and funded and those issues. So I'm fortunate enough to be able to be a bit of a sounding board for some of the founders of AFSA at that time. They were ambitious, to contribute to the agenda and the future of the fire and rescue services. They wanted to be involved at a strategic level, and they wanted to provide support to their individual members as well inside fire and rescue services. Within the ambitions that AFSA had, there certainly was a gap to be filled. How were policymakers going to understand what was required to make our workplace a fairer, more representative, a welcoming organisation and atmosphere for people coming from diverse backgrounds. And it's important, therefore, to get feedback and to listen to people who've experienced those things in the past and have a view of how they can be better for the future. And AFSA offered a fantastic opportunity for senior policymakers, ministers, to hear firsthand of people's experiences of the fire and rescue services and expectations of the fire and rescue service as well. Well, like all organisations, AFSA's evolved and developed as they've grown. We've heard today of the research that AFSA have undertaken into equality and diversity in the fire and rescue service. That's going to be a very important document for people to read. We hope it's going to be another step change, because these things happen in step changes rather than in a linear fashion. AFSA, like all organisations, evolve, and over the 10 years, they still hold the same goals, and they've developed as an organisation, gone from a relatively small group of dedicated personnel to a very wide-ranging group of very committed professionals in the field. I think AFSA do speak honestly to policymakers and to ministers and to senior managers in the fire and rescue service. They do it with a smile on their face. They do provide a bit of a grit in the oyster that makes people think and ask difficult questions. They've addressed at their conferences some of the very, very most difficult subjects, almost taboo subjects: Islamophobia, homophobia, hate crimes, gay rights. They address these in an open way that allow difficult questions to be asked. And on top of that, they've established themselves as a major force in raising money for charities. The firefighters' charity is an integral part of that, but the work they've done across Southeast Asia, particularly in India with water wells, is to be commended. If they've done nothing else, is a valuable contribution. But they've done so much more, and they continue to evolve and find their place in the whole landscape of the British Fire and Rescue Services.